ok. Qu'est-ce qui va donc se passer en Afrique? Comme avec vous, madame et monsieur. Rebonsoir à tous et bienvenue pour cette
3, 2, 1, go!
Ok, c'est bon. Bon!
Hi there, hello, salut.
Bonne année!
Wherever you're watching at the moment. It's today, Monday, the 5th of January, 2026. Wow, 5 days already. And I do know that your New Year resolution is not something you're scared of and you're able to accomplish. So, as you know, on this platform, we talk about issues relating to Cameroon and Africa and the world at large. And I know that given the work that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks or couple of months relates to Cameroon specifically because it was a hot topic with the elections and all that. And we're still following and tracking that particular update because Ituudi Bakari says he is coming and Yaounde is panicking. And you know, for good reasons, because ever since President Biya, that's his official title, even though we know that Ituudi Bakari is the president-elect, and we can say that in affirmative because it's high time we're able to say things just the way they are, despite the fact that we understand legalities and Constitutional Council rulings that are undisputed and undisputable and so on. But we need to say, based on the election results, we all know the truth. Let's not kid ourselves. But we do know that between legitimacy and legality, there's a mile. There's a big gap. In fact, right now, it's the distance between the Gambia and Cameroon, or you can say the capital of Gambia and the capital of Cameroon, Yaoundé. So we're saying that we're still tracking that particular development because every day there's new stuff. We know that Ituudi Bakari is working hard, and for all those Cameroonians who've been wondering what's going on behind the scenes, hang tight because these things are not easy. I mean, we know that President Biya did announce that he's going to form a government, and everywhere in Yaoundé, people joke that it smells like witch doctors have been working overnight. You know, that people have been visiting the east because the east of Cameroon is believed that in the Pygmy region, they have very strong doctors who can cook enough jazz, jabu, for people to feel fortified, for their names to reappear as ministers so they can continue to rule over Cameroonians. And some people have even visited their special doctors. And it's a meme. People are laughing about it, but it's a serious matter because there's some people who've been in office for over 20 years in Cameroon as ministers, untouched. And you can imagine how their offices have been transformed into their living rooms, their lounges, personal lounges. They even have their special furniture. Everything is tailored, made, designed, customized, and they've never left. Every time there's been a cabinet shuffle or reshuffle or just cabinet warm up, they've always been there. We can cite them. You can talk about the Minister of Higher Education, Jacques Famindongo. You can talk. There's so many of them. You can name them. They're different positions. 20 years. Kecha Cortez. All of them. They've been in office for as long as you can imagine, and never changed. Very few ministers have been in government, but also changed portfolios. Even the likes of people like René Emmanuel Sadi, they've changed portfolios. Laurent Issos and all that. So if you just look at the list of Cameroon's ministries and ministers who've been in government, you can tell that at least half of them have been there for over 20-25 years, which is unthinkable in a country of close to 40 or more than 40 million people, and a lot of intellectuals and people that can work to serve Cameroon in different capacities. Being a minister now, people like the minister Gregoire Wona, they're like ministries, departments now in Cameroon are like what you call career jobs. To be a minister is like a career job. It's something that you can. I don't know if a minister can leave Cameroon and use their CV to become a minister in another country. Something like that. That's exactly what it's been conceived to be. And all what that can do for a country is that it brings down the country. in terms of the economy, in terms of innovation, technology, and all that. And that's what Cameroon has been suffering from. And as you can tell, Issa Bakari, of course, was blamed for having worked in that regime, even though using his own political party. Because let's be clear, there's a difference between all the other ministers, because they have been part of the CPDM ruling party machine that has gone on to pass different laws at the National Assembly because they have a supermajority, and they've always had it since Cameroon even went into multi-party politics. So you cannot say somebody like Issa Bakari or Bello Magari would have done anything different, because their alliances are based on the votes that they bring from the north of Cameroon. And you cannot say that that particular piece of cake that they give to them is enough for them to effect any meaningful change. However, they knew that sometimes in order to beat the system, you have to go work and be within and work from within, and which is probably what they did. But it's so surprising that Bello Magari has been quiet. He said nothing. We haven't heard his voice. He hasn't come out to say he supports his brother from the north. And again, that goes to tell you that politics, even though sometimes it's highly tribalized, it's not probably the case with the relationship between Bello Buba and Issa Bakari. I mean, two brothers who know themselves very well. They worked in the 90s. They were working under the UNDP party that Bello Magari now leads. And Issa Bakari has gone on to change the story of opposition in Cameroon. Yes, he's been accused of going in and out, but I think this time around, his decision is clear. He's firm that he wants to live the rest of his life to serve Cameroon. And I think that's what resonated with many Cameroonians, and they were able to see through. And sometimes when a leader is that humble and comes to the people and tells them exactly what he knows about his history in the system and asks for forgiveness and shows the plan he has to work and build something going forward, I think it's something that Cameroonians can identify with. And that is why you can see very respectable Cameroonians like Eric Chinje of Project C. You see the Rebecca Enonchongs. You see the Metro Michel Ndokis. You see even people like Georges Anissé Kane. You see Maître Alice Nkom, the JCAM Chairmanis, and a host of so many Cameroonians who actually stood there. Professor Abo, these people are not nothing. You know what I mean? These are Cameroonians that are intellectuals of their capacity, entrepreneurs, visionary people who've worked in different walks of life, internationally and within Cameroon. And we're not saying that just because these people endorse a candidate, it means the candidate automatically becomes, somebody that everybody should endorse. We're saying that you should look at a candidate's profile, portfolio, and what they stand for, and also be objective, not just criticize because you're being emotional and think that because they worked in the regime, it makes them bad. Because you need to remember that I've told you before, there's no Cameroonian that's going to come from outside anywhere who hasn't worked in Cameroon, who doesn't understand the system to be able to govern. Professor Maurice Kamto, who was acclaimed as the best opposition candidate, has worked with the system. In fact, he defended Cameroon on the Bakassi file. He worked closely with President Biya. And at the time, he had some good things to say. And you can also remember that even when he was saying it because Paul Biya is a head of state. And if you are a deputy minister, you have to work on an important file like Bakassi. It's important that you recognize the leader who is sending you on that particular important mission. And of course, it was vice versa, because Biya himself, the President Biya, recognized Professor Maurice Kamto in his capacity to use his intellect, his skills, his ability as a renowned international legal luminary lawyer of that caliber. So it worked. And that's to tell you that you're not going to condemn him, even though people have tried to condemn him before. Every time he's tried to criticize the regime, they've tried to condemn him in saying that, well, he's criticizing a system he was once a part of. And even when the constitution was modified, he was part of that constitutional modification. And he was the one who said, and the decisions of the Constitutional Council are like dogma. They always like to cite those things and say, Professor Maurice Kamto to le pape du droit. When he says the Constitutional Council says A, it means A. So he cannot come then and try to contradict when the Constitutional Council said his candidacy was invalid. But that is the way Cameroon functions. People try to use what you said because you were in a particular role doing your job judiciously, use it against you when you try to run for office. So it makes it hard. There's no politician in Cameroon, even if it's someone who is not a politician. Talk about a technocrat, talk about somebody who's an engineer, talk about someone who's a businessman. There's nobody in Cameroon. I dare any Cameroonian who is watching this right now, go in the comment section and type me the name of one Cameroonian who lives and resides in Cameroon, who knows and understands Cameroon, who has done their mark, climbed the ladder from what you call it, from a staff to from cadre to highest level of administration, or from just a salesman or to a biggest entrepreneur in any category, who hasn't benefited or who hasn't done deals, who hasn't worked hand in glove with the system, the BR regime. Cite me one. There's none. Go into any of the families, Kaji Foso, you can go to where, even if Michel Foso, he got into trouble. He got into trouble, despite the fact that his father was wealthy and had wealth, which you would have believed was, gotten outside of the regime. Yet, he got into trouble. Where is he today? You want to talk about Kaji? Who do you want to talk about? Even Dan Polio. All these people, it's not to question the source of their wealth. It's to tell you that everyone in that regime, they benefited from state contracts. They've done business with the government. They've worked in one way or another. And what the government does, what the regime does, let me call the regime in particular, what they do is very skillful. They keep tabs on every single Cameroonian who has done any deal, contract, or any form of public work, to the point where as soon as you point your nose and say you want to run for office, or you want to bring change, or you want to question the status quo, or you want to demand accountability, they just open your dossier, open your file, and they expose it in the public. You start seeing information flying left, and you see, snipers appear on social media as if they don't know what's happening. It's the regime. That's the formula. In a captured state, that is the formula. The tool is keep tabs on every single potential, replacement, and make sure that you discredit them even before they become credible in the eyes of the Cameroonian people. And that has been going on for so long. It's not a new thing. And we're telling you this because it's important to remember that when you try to criticize a leader, you need to first of all look at their portfolio, their background, their message, and also scrutinize their their policy or their vision for the country. But above all, you need to ask yourself, what is the alternative? Is the alternative an absentee president who is never there, never speaks to the people, has become a deity, a god, a demigod?
Alors, mais j'ai dit à tous nos militants que nous tous là, nous sommes les fabrications du président Paul Biya. Il peut se décider un matin, décider de faire des bidimans ministres, de faire de toi puissant. Je ne crois pas que ce Bidima, apparemment, je vous relance. Tu es là, apparemment. Nous sommes là que par apparemment, vous fabriquez un certain nombre de personnalités. Et le moment venu également, vous les broyez. Non, je vais vous dire que c'est comme ça le RDPC. On ne broie personne.
In the words of someone like Professor Jacques Famdongo, he said it before, nous sommes les créations, nous sommes des créatures. De Paul Biya. Il est notre créateur. That's not new. That's something we've heard many times. And when a minister tells you that the president is their creator, it means that the president is no longer a human being. We can tell you about different moments in Cameroon history where Cameroonians have been governed by a signature, by a picture frame on the wall. In all the homes of ministers and in their offices, they have the frame, the picture of the head of state. Nobody says there's anything wrong in having the photograph of somebody who is like a mentor, a leader to you, an important figure. And we're telling you that it's important to pay attention, because every time someone is discredited, it's not because they're that bad. Right now, the biggest trouble for the BR regime to form a new government is obvious. And that is where they stand, because there are analysts who say the BR regime cannot form a new government because there are people that don't want to be part of that government, since they are sensing that change is on the way. There's another school of thought that believes that no, that is not the real problem. The real problem is that the BR regime has overpromised especially with those opposition figures like the Cabral Libis, the Joshua Osis, and other people who stayed quiet and the sidelines, the Bello Magaris and the like, who did not want to get involved in trying to prop up Issa Chuma Bakari's victory so that they could be compensated if the Biya regime is able to maintain the status quo. And now, there are other surrogates of the regime who believe that it's their turn to become ministers. And therefore, they are also at the back door knocking and saying, hey, time's up, we need to come in. And whereas those that are in office also don't want to leave because they've also done things that are somewhat atrocious. And they believe that if they get out, the other people who are angry at them will come after them. Either they're going to use Opération Épervier, some anti-corruption, all kinds of, because when you hear the Biya speech of the end of year where he talks about impunity and all these things, what he's saying is that soon you start hearing some people arrested for crimes they've committed, or either, different ways of purging the system. And they know it too well. It's a classical, strategy in the playbook. Therefore, we're saying that if these different schools of thought exist, is because that's how the regime has been functioning over the decades. Being in office for over 4 decades creates that atmosphere, because it's no longer a government for change. It's a government for maintaining the status quo, survival. And in survivorship, a lot can go wrong. And that's why there are people in office who don't want to leave. And there are those in office who are worried about their tomorrow. And that's why they are doing everything. They will go at any length to brutalize other Cameroonians, coerce them, repress them, just to make sure that they can hush any noise. They don't want, sometimes they even hide things from, his inner circle will tell you that sometimes they hide things from him. They will tell you that, the president is not aware, because they try to quell any form of dissent at the base. They try to squash it so he doesn't even find out. But the question is, why should he be that distant to the point where things happen and is reported on local media, Equinox Television, STV, Canal 2, like he doesn't watch these channels? Have you seen the level of filth and dirt in the whole, all the metropolitan cities in Cameroon? Have you seen it? Have you seen Douala, Yaoundé? Have you seen the amount of trash on the streets? It's unbearable. Those are things that, I just don't want to plaster those kinds of images here. It would disgust you. It has to even come with a warning to see the amount of dirt and filth on the streets, because the company that's supposed to be managing trash, Izakam, or whatever the name is right now, is not doing the job. Why? They have complaints. Maybe they are understaffed. Maybe they don't have the vehicles. Maybe. But there's a minister in charge of that portfolio. And that minister doesn't care, because, of course, that's not what they are there for. They are there to maintain the status quo. They're not there to serve Cameroonians. So, local councils are supposed to be doing their job. Again, talk about the form of the state. If there was enough decentralization, councils will be able to do their job. No, but councils can't even function with the budget they have, because they don't even get even 1/4 of the money that is earmarked for their budget, because the system doesn't operate and function well. And again, why? The country is heavily indebted. Every time they vote a budget, they have to go borrow money to execute, whereas the country has enormous resources. But again, talking about resources, those resources are tied to multinationals that sometimes Cameroonians don't even know, what was signed in those deals. A country can be mining your iron ore, bauxite, minerals, gold, everything, and again, not giving you anything. A company can be mining your iron ore, bauxite, manganese, call it all the different minerals that you know, high-end, top dollar in the world market. But the return that is given back to the Cameroon government, peanuts. Because they go and sign these big deals to borrow money, and Cameroonians don't know the fine print of these deals. And that is sad. That's why I'm not opposed to people jubilating and excited about football, about, music, about whatever. I follow all of these things in my personal life. I can tell you this, I DJ, just so you know. I follow all these things. I'm excited about the music, the culture, the lifestyle, football, all these things, social activities, yes. But one thing I've noticed is that these are distractions for Cameroonians at the core. Yes, there are big distractions for Cameroonians at the core. I mean, you take a case in point. The Indomitable Lions of Cameroon right now are at the peak of their performance not seen in a long time. They are making Cameroonians vibrate and dream. They are making Africa proud. I know it's the African Nations Cup, so every country is struggling to have their own national team be at the top. But I know that there are other African countries that are genuinely rooting for Cameroon, because Cameroon is a powerhouse when it comes to football. Cameroon is not, that's why I was laughing when I heard people say South Africa was going to walk over Cameroon. I just smiled. That's because they don't know Cameroon, because when you look at Cameroon and South Africa in the history of soccer, of what you call football, you know, they don't compare. Even the worst team in Cameroon can stand a strong Bafana team any day, anytime. You know why? There's something in Cameroon we call lo hemle. It's something that is coined from the Bassa language, hemle. It's a spirit of defiance. It's that spirit that says, it's the spirit that the lion has. That spirit that nothing can dominate or subdue or challenge a Cameroonian. That is the spirit. It's called lo hemle. So every time you see a Cameroonian, anywhere, you know that when you see a true Cameroonian, they have lo hemle, that spirit. When they meet any obstacle, any challenge, any difficulty, the first thing they believe is that they will overcome. Look anywhere in the world, anybody in the diaspora who has seen any Cameroonian, put it in the comments. Anybody in the diaspora who has seen any Cameroonian, put in the comments. This is a moment just to take to give. Sometimes when we talk about Cameroon and all the challenges and everything, yeah, people don't see this part of Cameroon. That spirit in Cameroon that we call Ohemle, it translates in everything Cameroonians do. Go to any part of the world, when you meet Cameroonians, you understand how they function. Now, we do know that aside from that spirit that we use, we wish that that spirit could be applicable in getting rid of the Biya regime, because truly that regime has slowed down the progress of Cameroon in so many ways. I know sometimes people try to say, well, you can't throw the baby and the bathwater because the regime, despite their insufficiencies, has done A, B, C, D. No. If you put that regime on a scoreboard, 1 to 100, 1 to 20, 1 to 10, that regime does not come out with anything as closest as a D grade. Yes, that regime cannot come close to a D grade. Maybe in the early years, in the first 5-10 years of maybe up until 1990, and even thereabout, the signs were already there. The signs were already there. For the last 30 years, no, it's been going down. It's been going down, and the evidence is there. And we're not just talking. Let's take any sector, health, education, you name it. People used to attend universities and get scholarships and get food. Talk about people who went to Guayaquil, they will tell you. But over the years, some people will tell you, oh, we used to have 2 universities, now we have 10, now we have 8, now we have 9. No. We have universities on paper, buildings, infrastructure, the architecture, the professional circle, the excellence, the academic ladder. All of that is not in place. Very few universities can boast of the right tools to teach students. Cameroonians are just so skilled, talented, gifted, and it's just something natural. That's why they've been able to thrive and succeed anywhere in the world, despite these insufficiencies. Because they are gifted and blessed to have more. Yes. In employment, there's something called underemployment. You could be underemployed, which means you're more skilled than the position you hold. I can say in education in Cameroon, Cameroonians could be considered undereducated in the sense that they have a high IQ, they have a good acumen, they can really perform at the highest level, but the infrastructure, especially at the tertiary level, is not keeping up. And the regime has everything to do with it. because they have the keys to the treasury, they have the keys to the subsoil. They sign all these contracts. And most of them in office have studied abroad, so they know the academic excellence that is required for a country to be elevated. But no, one of the pillars of la conservation du pouvoir, which means the theories of how to keep and maintain power, is to keep people impoverished, undereducated, and above all, almost in some form of illusion. And that is why I have nothing against the proliferation of churches in Cameroon, but I can tell you that there's a lot of mess in that domain. You turn around every neighborhood, there's some small church in some small building, in some small, any place, and the noise is loud. People go about, beating the devil with a stick on the ground. People will tell me, yes, it's not only a Cameroon thing, it's across many African countries. And on the international scene, we don't like highlighting some of these things because it almost feels like it's exposing, I don't want to call it the craziness. But again, if we have to change the mindset, if we have to change our mentality, then we need to face these realities head on. You can't run away from the truth, from reality. The proliferation of churches and bars, beer parlors, whatever you call them, débit de boisson. These two things is the cause of a lot of issues in families and society in Cameroon. Yes, I know that this particular episode is not going to sit well with a lot of people who probably don't like to face this reality. But I hope you're not one of them. I am open to all ideas. People should leave in the comments what they think. But I just felt that today, in this particular piece, and this is the second piece of this day, I just wanted to touch on this particular key element because we've talked a lot about Venezuela and how it contrasts with Cameroon. And people don't like the fact that, some people, not that they don't like the fact, but some people feel like, maybe we're shining too much of a spotlight on the Venezuela situation. We should be focusing more, we should come back to Cameroon. Yes, I'm coming back to Cameroon. And that's why I'm trying to do this particular simple one-on-one chat, off the cuff, just have a conversation and just chat about the situation on ground and just tell you where we are, and what's brewing, what's happening. So again, two big things to keep in mind. Sgrpr Bakari says he's coming. And we know that the BR regime is trying to form a new government and Cameroonians are waiting for the ball to drop. And there have been rumors that Sgrpr Bakari has been contacted, if at all, but he would have to come and confirm that himself, that he's been contacted for the formation of a new government, and that's why there's been delays because he's refused to be part of it. And that is because he believes and he knows that he won the elections. And if you're a reasonable person in Cameroon, I use the word reasonable with caution. If you're a reasonable person within or outside of Cameroon, and you've been following the affairs of this particular presidential elections that took place on October 12, 2025, then you know the truth. The evidence is there, it's overwhelming. We cannot beat about the bush. Yes, sometimes because of politics, people tend to lie. They tend to tell lies. No, we want to focus on good governance. And in civic education, you have to be honest, because that's one of the reasons why people should know how to respect the flag and to respect the motto of their country, to respect the emblems. Yes, to respect the coat of arms, to know what it means, to have that spirit of nationality, that spirit of, that spirit of belonging, the patriotic spirit. Yes, everywhere you go in the world, when you're welcome in a place, you should respect that country. You should know your rights as a citizen of that country. You should know your place. You should be respectful. Don't go and be demanding the unthinkable. And that is important. Charity begins at home and doesn't end there. Civic education is about knowing those rights and responsibilities as a citizen, both as a national citizen and as a global citizen. And it cuts across. We are one people across the world. It starts by knowing how to do things right. The only way you can be of benefit to the society is if you're well trained at home. Because the society benefits from your home training. The same way, if you're well trained as a Cameroonian, as a Nigerian, as a Senegalese, as a Kenyan, as a Ghanaian, as an Indian, as a Chinese, wherever you are, when you're well trained within the confines of your country, and you've been given the tools to function as a good human being in society, everywhere you go in the world, you carry that with you. And guess what? You continue to do your origins proud, and you also do your host country proud. That is how it works. So when we talk about good governance, we talk about democratic values, we talk about the principles of accountability, we talk about civic responsibility, we talk about all these things. It's because sometimes we get caught up with social media frenzy. Nothing against scrolling on TikTok and watching fun videos, dance challenges and all that. But when it comes to going back to the core of who we are as citizens, as people of this world, global citizens in the global village who are now interconnected with the internet, it comes back to what happens in our individual countries. When a refugee is fleeing from war from one place to another, when they are received elsewhere, they carry with them the traits, from their home country. And it's important that we try to prevent situations to be alarming to the point where people have to flee. Many Anglophone brothers and sisters understand this firsthand. If somebody ever told us that Anglophone Cameroonians will be running away from their own country because of conflict, because of war, because of a crisis, rewind the tape to maybe 2000, 2004, 2010, they'll tell you you're kidding. But it happened. So if there was enough civic pressure, if there was enough civil society, presence to force Cameroonians to mobilize and defend their constitutional rights, and even stop the change of constitution in 2008, or the modification of the constitution, or even to stop the regime from taking another mandate, at least change the regime and force a change in the way of life of the country, probably the Anglophone crisis would have been avoided, and many other things in Cameroon. Nobody is saying that we're just going to whiff a magic wand and everything will go away. No, we're saying that if the work is done from the ground up and Cameroonians understand the stakes, the changes will come from within. And that's why we have to keep our eyes glued to what will come out of Yaoundé. It will be a 5 o'clock newscast, which is usually the case. It will rarely be at 8 p.m. A cabinet shuffle is at 5 p.m., 17h, and it will drop. They'll hide the folder and then just deliver it to the host to read right there on air. They'll bring it straight from the presidency, wherever it's going to come, and they'll march right into the studios and put it on the table, and it will be read instantaneously, almost like a military regime. That's how it's done. And Cameroonians will get to find out. And the next day, Cameroon Tribune will publish it, and the headline will be "Enfin, le remaniement ministériel. Paul Biya tranche. Le nouveau gouvernement." I'm just giving them different leads. Yeah. So I want to end here, and I just want to thank you all for staying to the end. Please continue to subscribe to the channel. We can hit the 10,000 mark like nothing. So many people watch. I see the analytics. YouTube sends me the data. A lot of people watch my content. They watch the content on this channel. I don't know, what's stopping. The least you can do is to subscribe. Hit that notification bell. It takes nothing away. Just subscribe, hit the like, hit the share, leave a comment, leave your thoughts. It's important. We are all a family. We are all part of this community, and we all probably want the same things. And if something brought you to this channel, to this platform, it's because either you're in quest for the kind of information we're providing here, or you have something to share with other viewers. They can learn from your own walk of life, from your own experiences. It's important we all connect. So please continue to share within your circles. Leave a thumbs up, leave your comments, and above all, subscribe. It's important to grow the platform. we need to grow our own things, Let's grow our own. Support your own. It's important. It doesn't take away anything. I know sometimes we forget or we take it for granted, or maybe we feel overwhelmed because we subscribe to so many channels and every time there's a new video, it's almost like a distraction to us. Yeah, that's why you need to be selective about your subscriptions. So let's subscribe to things that add value. If you believe that this content adds value to your day-to-day communication, consumption, information, absorption, everything, then subscribe. Please, don't be hesitant. Don't be on the fence. Thank you so much. And again, until the next one, may God bless Cameroun.
Il n'y aura pas trop de problème. Par contre, les Camerounais vont le prendre des mains. Mais il y a un tel stade de la corruption dans ce pays, c'est absolument fou. Moi, je suis arrivé à l'aéroport de Douala, j'étais en novembre, et je savais que l'aéroport de Douala a été rénové il y a 7-8 ans par une entreprise française, jusqu'à, qui a eu quand même un prêt de l'Agence française de développement, donc un prêt.
Encore une entreprise française.
Remboursé par les Camerounais, de 40 ou 41 millions d'euros. Franchement, pour un aéroport, une capitale économique, une des premières puissances d'Afrique francophone, enfin d'Afrique dite francophone, c'est lunaire. J'ai l'impression d'être dans un film d'horreur. Parce que je sais que c'était la période d'Halloween.
Il dit que l'aéroport international de Douala, il est comme dans un film d'horreur. Il est comme en période d'Halloween. Halloween, ici, là, ce sont les... Je sais pas, vous aurez quand même vu ça dans les films, non? Comment il y a les morts vivants, tout ça. Le gars lance un tac, là, les 2 pieds décollés au Camerounais. Vraiment.
Oui, c'était quand même où sont passés les 40 millions d'euros qui ont été prêtés par l'État français, qui ont été utilisés par cette entreprise française pour rénover l'aéroport. Ils sont partis dans des commissions
ils ont détourné.
au Cameroun et puis sans doute dans les poches de
l'entreprise
française. Donc c'est complètement hallucinant. Et ça va. Voilà, dans plein de pays, on se rend pas compte à quel point on a creusé notre propre tombe et on a creusé nous-mêmes la détestation.
Et c'est pourquoi j'ai toujours dit ici, là, vous êtes témoins, les amis, que la France devrait se tenir aux côtés des peuples africains pour chasser.
Aucun sujet, aucun autre sujet ne vienne vous détourner de la vision de ce qui se passe actuellement. C'est chouchou. Personne ne doit nous amener à penser qu'il faut oublier chouchou parce qu'il y a des situations qui nous... Zéro. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, là, c'est comme de la jungle où chacun veut tirer son épingle du jeu. Zéro. J'ai dit que c'est zéro. C'est nul et sans effet. C'est chouchou. Chouchou, c'est la vedette. Et tu as une méthode là que moi, aujourd'hui, là, je m'assois et dis... Avec du recul, il faut vraiment prendre ses distances. C'est-à-dire que tu es avec lui, mais tu es sur tes gardes. Tout nous montre que même le jour où on attend qu'il vienne lire le discours, il ne lit pas le discours, il passe le discours. Il demande à son porte-parole qu'il lit le discours. Non, moi je comprends. C'est-à-dire qu'à un moment, j'essaie de réfléchir pour comprendre. Qu'est-ce que cela veut dire? Et je préfère être bloqué parce que je sais qu'il y aura une réponse à ma question plus tard. C'est-à-dire, là où les gens courent, chacun est en train de faire son discours. Je ne sais plus si c'est les discours des partis politiques que chacun doit faire. Mais avant, ce n'était pas comme ça. Avant, ce n'était pas comme ça. Avant, on ne voyait pas les gens faire les discours par-ci, faire les discours par-là. Même les gens qui sont dans les petits clubs, clans de famille, ils font les discours maintenant de fin d'année. Tu ne sais même pas où c'est le bilan de quoi que les gens viennent faire. Mais Chouchou, sachant que ça devait se bousculer, s'est effacé. Il a juste envoyé son discours par écrit. Et la personne qui a pris la parole pour nous lire le discours là, hey! C'est son porte-parole, maître Alice. Comme j'ai dit qu'elle était couchée dans mon lit comme ça, je riais seule. Personne ne pouvait comprendre pourquoi. J'ai dit, on peut faire ça. On peut faire ça. Ça dit, on peut faire les choses autrement comme ça. Ça dit, je suis accrochée. Et j'ai dit, il m'a aidé à comprendre que maintenant là, je nettoie les mauvaises graines. Tout ce qui est toxique là. Je mets de côté. Je passe comme ça si j'écoute quelqu'un qui est en train de virer vers les accusations, vers qui elle m'a fait ceci, parce qu'on veut ramener l'image d'une autre. Je dis que je balaye. Ça veut dire que je zappe tout ce qui concerne Chouchou là. Je dis oui, c'est lui que je regarde. Parce que oui, il ne faut pas qu'on se monte. Chouchou est en train de dire qu'il nous amène quelque part. On veut voir là où il nous amène. Si on ne veut pas voir là où Chouchou nous amène, on ne saura jamais si Chouchou a abandonné ou s'il n'a pas abandonné. Maintenant, il n'y a personne qui doit faire ombre à Chouchou. Personne ne doit faire ombre à Chouchou. J'ai dit que pour moi, personne ne doit faire ombre. C'est pour ça que je suis concentrée. Je ne suis plus dans les... Oh, il a fui. Oh, ça, c'est le passé. Ça, c'est des choses qui t'empêchent de te concentrer. Parce qu'il faut que tu t'arrêtes pour pouvoir justifier le fait qu'il est parti, réfléchir sur pourquoi il est parti, machin et tout. Alors que même ceux qui viennent avec cette distraction-là savent pourquoi tu n'es plus là. Est-ce que c'est alors nécessaire de venir troubler les gens en ramenant la question pour continuer à distraire le peuple qui est concentré sur ce que Chouchou a proposé? Chouchou là, hein, il est efficace. Il est efficace dans la mesure où, si aujourd'hui on dit à Chouchou tous même, il dit faites comme ça, vous allez voir, les gens vont sortir. S'il dit, c'est parce que lui-même, il a pris conscience que n'étant pas là, il ne veut pas que les enfants des gens tombent. Il ne veut pas que les familles continuent à pleurer. Mais sinon, Chouchou là, s'il prend la parole, il décide, il dit que sortez demain. Vous allez voir, les gens vont sortir. Les gens vont sortir. Les gens vont sortir. Même s'ils savent qu'ils vont sortir et qu'il y aura des conséquences, ils vont quand même sortir. Donc maintenant, je me dis, si les Camerounais sont ceux-là, sauf s'ils sont comme ça, versatiles, pour eux, c'est leur pensée unique. Ce n'est personne d'autre que leur personne. Alors, on va se retrouver ici tout le temps à débattre sur des faux sujets parce qu'on estime que non, il ne faut pas que ce soit Chouchou, il faut que ce soit quelqu'un d'autre parce que c'est notre personne qu'on a choisie. Vous avez réussi à descendre plus bas en essayant de nous imposer la personne qui est votre personne, même quand vous savez que cette personne n'est plus là. Et donc nous avons pensé, nous les vrais Camerounais, nous les patriotes qui aimons notre pays, nous ne voulons pas de division. Nous avons décidé de rester cohérents et de respecter l'engagement de tous ceux qui veulent construire et changer le Cameroun. La donne là, on doit la changer. Je suis tellement contente. Il n'y aura plus jamais que wow, on a dit que telle chose devait se passer, ça s'est retrouvé dans les réseaux sociaux. Chacun va mener son combat. C'est-à-dire que ta tête va t'amener à travailler pour à prendre les initiatives pour ton combat. C'est pour ça que Chouchou a fermé. C'est-à-dire qu'il a tout fermé, tout est sous contrôle. Parce qu'on a remarqué que les mêmes là, qui ont noyé le père Camto depuis 2018, sont les mêmes qui sont en train de chialer dans les réseaux parce qu'ils ont faim, ils ont soif des informations pour continuer à manipuler les consciences. Chouchou a fait comme ça. Il a fermé. Il l'a fermé et scellé. Il travaille avec une équipe juridique et aucune information ne fute. Vous savez pourquoi ils ont fait ça? Parce qu'on a vu depuis 2018 la stratégie de combat que les gens ont menée. À parler, ramener des histoires, commérage. Quand il y a fuite d'informations, même dans le MRC, on ramène ça dans les réseaux sociaux. On passe l'information avant que le parti politique ne sorte officialisé. Fuite d'informations égale récupération. C'est-à-dire, on te dit même quelque chose comme ça et on dit garde pour toi parce qu'on ne sait pas encore. Toi, parce que tout le monde te voit comme la vedette. Tu vas sortir, venir mettre ça sur la place publique. Chouchou a dit que you cannot, never. Tu vas chercher ça avec la torche, tu ne vas pas trouver. Et quand tu vas manquer d'inspiration, tu vas tirer sur lui. Parce que tu estimes que tu n'as rien. C'est-à-dire que personne ne te donne aucune information. Normalement, quand tu n'as aucune information, tu dois plutôt mener ton combat. C'est là où on voit un vrai combattant. Le vrai combattant, c'est celui que même quand le leader est tranquille, il continue parce qu'il a sa vision. Il a sa vision. Mais ceux qui sont venus pour se distraire là, quand le leader est tranquille pour travailler, ils veulent toujours que le leader sorte. Parce que lui, quand le leader sort, il les inspire. quand le leader va dire quelque chose, ils vont utiliser, analyser et narguer les gens. Avec Chouchou, il n'y a pas ça. C'est cuit, ça a cuit. Avec Chouchou, il n'y a pas ça. Et c'est pour ça, à la dernière minute, même le président Kamto avait compris l'affaire là. Il n'était plus lui là que tout ce... Il faisait comme ça, même s'il a compris sa taille, il a quand même compris. C'est-à-dire que tous ceux qui étaient venus derrière lui disent que Kamto mon président là, qui cherchait à avoir la lumière avec son nom là, à la dernière minute, le père était devenu discret. Il ne disait plus comment les choses devaient se passer parce qu'avant, les gens sont venus dans le combat comme ça parce qu'ils ont vu qu'il y avait les gens qui sont transformés en stars. Et pour être star, il fallait être aussi proche du parti politique. Et quand on était proche, on se faisait un ami, deux amis, trois amis. Et de temps en temps, on appelait, on posait des questions. Et pourtant, on voulait comme ça se renseigner pour venir narguer le peuple avec. Dès qu'on avait une petite information, je dis que information, genre on sait que c'est le parti même qui va mettre ça, qui va officialiser, qui va mettre ça dehors. Maman, les gars, ils récupéraient. Ils venaient trahir. Et c'est ça là, l'adversaire prenait ça pour nuire le parti. Maintenant, le parti même a arrêté de faire des communications officielles. Jusque-là, les gens là qui étaient infiltrés dans les partis, dans leur parti là, leur problème c'était d'exister à travers le MRC. Aujourd'hui, ils sont en difficulté. Et comme ils sont en difficulté, ils s'attaquent à Chouchou parce que oui, d'après eux, Chouchou devait se comporter exactement comme le président Maurice Kamto, leur donner accès. De façon à ce qu'il soit accessible à lui, qu'il soit accessible à ses proches, qu'il soit accessible à tous ceux qui peuvent donner des informations. Maman, j'ai commencé à comprendre que Chouchou n'est pas le genre. Chouchou n'est pas comme ça. Les gens ont créé les interviews avec Maître Alice Com. Maître Alice Com a fermé comme ça. C'est-à-dire que elle, Maître Alice Com, elle a créé la confusion dans les têtes des personnes. Et ces gens-là ont récupéré ça comme pour dire que, vous voyez, il a fui. Et c'est exactement ça qui fait avancer le travail. Parce que oui, quand tu sais à qui tu as affaire, tu ne te permets pas de faire l'erreur pour faire plaisir à quelqu'un. Maître Alice, comme ne passe son temps qu'à dire, c'est le peuple qui doit, c'est le peuple, en sachant très bien que ce peuple-là ne peut rien. Mais elle le dit quand même pour éveiller la conscience du peuple. Mais ce n'est parce que les gens là qui l'interrogent ou bien qui l'interviewent veulent savoir. Ce qu'ils veulent savoir, c'est les informations sûres. C'est prendre les informations pour débriefer, pour analyser, pour amener le peuple, détourner même le sens, le contexte de ses propos. Ah, mof, Chouchou, tu es garçon. Chouchou a tout. C'est-à-dire que, je ne sais pas si c'est ces avocats-là qui l'ont conseillé d'être comme ça, mais le gars est en train de faire le travail que je souhaitais depuis des années que le président Maurice Kamto soit pareil. C'est pour chasser les microbes là derrière lui. J'ai dit les microbes. Parce que les gens dans la vie, là, quand ils s'accrochent sur toi, ils sont tellement toxiques. Tu te déconnectes fatigué, ils s'accrochent sur toi. Le président Kamto était comme ça. Les gens étaient accrochés sur lui. Chacun, tu te lèves le matin, tu fais...
son apogée.
Nous sommes déjà presque arrivés à la fin de cette édition spéciale, l'une des chaînes sociopolitiques. Alors, bienvenue donc pour la prochaine prise.